Welcome back to the engine room of the Go runtime. We're diving right back into our explainer series on the GMP model. This is part 3, and we're looking at work stealing, parking, and spinning threads.
So to keep this engine running smoothly under immense pressure, we have to tackle a pretty common problem in concurrent systems, and that's uneven workload distribution. We want to understand the dynamic mechanics that keep everything perfectly balanced. Right, in an ideal world, every logical processor, or P, would have the exact same amount of work. But let's be real. In reality, like when you're processing a massive flood of uneven web requests, some tasks finish in microseconds, while others, spawn hundreds of subtasks. So it begs the question, what actually happens when one processor is just absolutely overwhelmed with work, while another sits there completely idle?
Okay, picture our processors as workers on a factory floor. One worker is just completely slammed. Their local run queue is maxed out at 256 goroutines. Meanwhile, the worker right next to them is just standing there with a totally empty queue. Now, if we relied strictly on those local queues, the CPU core attached to that idle worker would be doing absolutely nothing, while the other core is heavily bottlenecked. That is wasted potential, right? And if there's one thing the Go runtime hates, it's wasted potential.
So, the idle worker doesn't just throw its hands up and give up. It actually follows a very strict, hard-coded search order to find something to do. First, it checks its own local queue. Empty. Second, it peeks at the global queue. And actually, as a quick aside here, it checks that global queue 1 out of every 61 scheduler ticks anyway, just to make sure those globally queued Go routines don't starve. Third, it polls the network poller for any ready network I/O tasks. And finally, if all else fails, it takes matters into its own hands. It falls back to this brilliant work-stealing algorithm, looking directly at the other processors to see if they need a hand.
Now, the really crucial point here is exactly how much work it steals. When our idle processor targets a busy one, it doesn't just grab 1 or 2 tasks. No, it takes exactly half of the runnable Go routines, literally calculated as n minus n divided by 2, right there in the runtime source code. So why exactly 50%? Well, by grabbing half the load in a single swoop, it instantly balances the system. It totally prevents this chaotic ping-pong effect where it would constantly need to go back and steal more microseconds later.
And just like that, the system achieves true scheduler fairness. Both processors are now working efficiently, which completely prevents one massive queue from monopolizing the whole system. And honestly, the most beautiful part of all of this, it does it without needing any central coordination. There are absolutely no heavy system-wide locks required between the processors for this high-level balancing act. That keeps the overall throughput incredibly high. It just works.
All right, let's introduce a new complication and see how the system builds on this. What if a running Go routine has to stop and wait for data from a channel, or maybe a mutex? We've solved the issue for uneven CPU-bound workloads, sure, but when a Go routine is actively waiting on an event, it literally cannot keep using the CPU. At the same time, obviously, we can't just terminate it, so where does it go?
Well, the scheduler resolves this by invoking a runtime procedure called gopark. This effectively parks the Go routine and safely detaches it from the underlying machine thread, the M. By saving the Go routine's stack pointer and program counter, it completely decouples the logical unit of work from the physical executor. This decoupling is an absolute masterstroke in Go's design because it keeps those threads free to keep moving and doing other things.
The lifecycle transition we see here is just so elegant. The Go routine moves from a running state directly to parked, which instantly frees up the thread to go find other work. The machine thread doesn't just sit there blocked, it goes right back into the scheduler loop. So the physical CPU core keeps churning through other tasks, while our parked Go routine sits safely on the sidelines just waiting for another Go routine somewhere else to finally send data on that channel.
And the moment that data is sent, boom, the parked Go routine is instantly unparked using a function called startM. It transitions right back to the runnable state and jumps back into the queue ready for action. That startM function ensures there's an active machine thread awake to process this newly runnable Go routine, meaning our code picks up exactly where it left off without missing a single beat.
But hold on, this brings up a really fascinating question about the thread itself. We know it checks everywhere, right? Its local queue, the global queue, the network poller, and even other processors for work stealing. But what if it checks all of those boxes and still finds 0 Go routines? Does it just instantly power down? Does it throw in the towel and yield back to the operating system right then and there?
Surprisingly, no. It enters a state called spinning, Now, I know what you're thinking. It sounds totally counterintuitive to intentionally waste resources, right? But this is actually a brilliant optimization under the hood. The thread actively burns CPU cycles, rapidly looping through those queues looking for work. Instead of sleeping immediately, these threads are essentially pacing back and forth like a sprinter at the starting blocks, ready to pounce on new work at a millisecond's notice.
It all boils down to a classic engineering trade-off. Spinning absolutely burns CPU cycles, yes, but it completely avoids the massive latency penalty of waking a sleeping thread back up from the operating system level. If a new Go routine is spawned, a spinning thread can grab it instantly, zero wake-up latency. On the flip side, sleeping does save CPU cycles, but waking that thread requires an OS-level context switch, which is incredibly slow and expensive compared to our lightning-fast user space operations.
So to keep this all balanced, Go strictly limits the number of spinning threads to exactly half of the busy processors. This is the crucial guardrail that prevents extreme CPU waste in programs that are, truly idle. If a thread spins for a while and still finds absolutely nothing, it finally concedes. It calls a function named stopm to park the actual OS thread, using a fewtext system call to officially go to sleep and stop chewing up the CPU.
We've seen how work stealing and parking keep our user space code flowing, balancing the load across cores and avoiding that heavy OS overhead whenever possible. But I want to leave you with this final provocative thought for our next explainer. What happens when your code traps into the actual OS kernel for a blocking system call, like, say, reading a massive file from disk? How does the scheduler prevent a hard kernel block from disfreezing our entire application? Think about that, and we'll unpack all those secrets next time.